Besama world where Mefescadus Adawabla. I mean, Besama world where Mefescadus Adawabla. I mean, Besama world where Mefescadus Adawabla. I mean, yes, good morning, blessed love. Hope you had a good weekend. And yeah, it's been a very eventful weekend. As I said, yesterday, the coronation celebrations on Saturday, so I'm still, riding on the waves of the vibes of the celebrations there, really beautiful. But today we had sad news that Honourable Dr. Paul Stevenson has passed. Paul Stevenson is a pioneer in the UK, led the Bristol bus boycott in 1963 that led to the forming of the first Race Relations Act. So just want to send prayers to Paul Stevenson, give thanks to God for all that you've done and how you've made, the UK a more bearable place. So give thanks to Paul Stevenson, and I dedicate this reading in honour of his memory. So on with the reading. So Genesis 37 of the Ethiopian Bible. And Jacob dwells in the land of his father's sojourning, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, a son of 17 years, has been enjoying himself with his brothers among the flock, and he is a youth, with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, and fathers' wives. And Joseph brings in an account of their evil to their father. And Israel has loved Joseph more than any of his sons, for he is the son of an old age, and has made for him a long coat. And his brothers see that their father has loved him more than any of his brothers, and they hate him, and they have not been able to speak to him peacefully. And Joseph dreams a dream and declares to his brothers, and they add still more to hate him. And he says to him, Please hear this dream which I have dreamed, that behold, we are binding bundles in the midst of the field, and behold, my bundle has arisen, and has also stood up, and behold, your bundles are all around, and they bow themselves to my bundle. And his brothers say to him, Do you certainly reign over us? Do you certainly rule over us? And they add more still hate to him, for his dreams and for his words. And he dreams yet another dream, and he recounts it to his brothers, saying, Behold, I have dreamed a dream again, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars are bowing themselves to me. And he recounts to his father and to his brothers, and to his father, and his father pushes against him, and says to him, What is this dream which you have dreamed? Do you certainly come, I and your mother and your brother, to bow ourselves to you and to the earth? And his brothers are zealous against him, and his fathers have watched the matter. And his brothers go to feed the flock of their father in Shechem, and Israel says to Joseph, Are your brothers not feeding in Shechem? Come, I send you to them. And he says to them, Here I am. And he says to them, Now go, the peace of your brothers, and see the peace of the flock, and bring me back word. And he sends him to the valley of Hebron, and he comes to Shechem. A man finds him, and behold, he is watching in the field. And the man asks him, saying, What do you seek? And he says, I'm seeking my brothers. Please declare to me where they are feeding. And the man says, They have journeyed from this, for I have heard some saying, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph goes after his brothers and finds them in Dothan. And they see him from afar, even before he draws near to them, and they conspire against him to put him to death. And they say to one another, Behold, this man of the dreams comes. And now come we slay him, and cast him into one of the pits, and have said, An evil beast hath devoured him. And what we see in his dreams are. And Reuben hears and delivers him out of their hand, and says, Let us not strike the life. And Reuben says to them, Shed no blood, cast him into this pit which is in the wilderness. Do not put forth a hand on him. in order to deliver him out of their hand, to bring him back to his father. And it comes to pass, when Joseph hath come to his brothers, they strip Joseph of his coat, the long coat which is on him, and they take him and cast him in the pit. And the pit is empty, there is no water in it. And they sit down to eat bread, and they lift up their eyes and look, and behold, a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, and their camels carrying spices, balm and myrrh, going to take them down to Egypt. And Judah says to his brothers, what gain when we slay our brother and have concealed his blood? Come, we shall sell him to the Ishmaelites, and our hands are not on him, for he is our brother, our flesh. And his brothers listen. The Midianite merchantmen pass, and they draw out and bring up Joseph out of the pit, and sell Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they bring Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returns to the pit, and behold, Joseph is not in the pit, and he tears his garments. And he returns to his brothers, saying, the boy is not, and I, to where am I going? And they take the coat of Joseph, and slaughter a kid of the goats, and dip the coat in the blood. And they send the long coat, and they bring it to their father, and say, we have found this. Please discern whether it is your son's coat or not. And he discerns it, and says, my son's coat, an evil beast has devoured him. Torn Joseph is torn. And Jacob tears his raiments, and puts sackcloth on his loins, and becomes a mourner for his son for many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rise to comfort him, and he refuses to comfort himself, and says, for I go down to my son, mourning to Sheol. And his father weeps for him. And the Midianites have sold Joseph to Egypt, to Potiphar, a eunuch of Pharaoh, head of the executioners. For these few words I give thanks, blessed love. So a lot going on there. It's quite a famous chapter. Joseph and his technicolor dreamcoat, as is often called. So Joseph becomes the favourite son of Jacob. And again, favouritism is something that we see recurring throughout Genesis. So Joseph is the favourite son of Joseph, and so Jacob gives Joseph this coat of many colours, and it makes all the other brothers jealous. So, and then Joseph has two dreams. One dream is that they're all doing bales of hay, and all the bales bow towards his bale. And then another dream he has where there's all the stars and the moons and the moon, sun, and the stars in the sky bow towards his star. So what he's prophesizing is he's going to become a leader of not only his brothers, but also his mother and father, that he's going to be the central figure. And that makes his brothers angry, and they try to kill him. Reuben tries to stop them killing him, but then they end up selling him into slavery, and he gets sold off and sent to Egypt. But they pretend to Jacob, the father, that Joseph has been eaten by a beast, and then Jacob's in deep mourning, and no one can get him out of his grief. So it's a chapter full of deceit and jealousy. And again, these are themes, jealousy and deceit, that we've seen go throughout Genesis. There's another chapter, actually, I'm just realising, that we don't hear any mention of God. Again, God doesn't speak in this chapter. So again, it's kind of left to human agency, human decision making of how they're going to deal with something. And in a way, it feels like God's watching back and kind of seeing kind of what happens, really. And it's a continuation of this negotiation of, how God is relating to humans, how much he intervenes or not, how much he intervenes and kind of punishes in the moment, or let events play out. And let's not forget, the word Genesis, the beginning, it's the beginning of things. So everything's very much an experiment in this book, and this chapter's no different to that, really. So it's setting the scene for seeing what comes next. Joseph is now in exile. Well, not in exile. He's in Egypt, but sold into slavery. So it's as good as exile, but he's being sold into slavery, and Jacob is at the moment is irreconcilable because he believes that his favourite son has died. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I won't draw any conclusions as such because obviously the story's got to play out. But again, it's full of deceit, full of jealousy, full of human agency without God's intervention. So essentially, it's chaos. That's what it is. It's chaos. Um, it feels like lots of threads are still left hanging, but we are left with a bit of a cliffhanger on this. So we'll see how the story resolves, in the coming up chapters. But yeah, an interesting chapter, full of drama, and we kind of expect nothing less now from the book of Genesis. All right, blessed love, God willing, have a blessed day, and see you more tomorrow. Give thanks.